40 years after Reaganomics, President Biden is taking a page out of that playbook and turning it upside down, coining the term Bidenomics. The contrasting concept is about building upwards from the middle and lower classes, instead of expecting money to trickle down from the country's wealthiest people. Part of the plan includes the $53 billion CHIPS and Science Act, which provides incentives for domestic chip manufacturing. The president is expected to talk about this in a big way in his speech today in Chicago. Here with the preview, the director of External and Government Affairs for the U.S. Department of Commerce's Chips for America program, Adrienne Elrod. So, Adrienne, what can we expect to hear from President Biden today?
Well, you know, Mika, Anita Dunn, senior White House advisor, was on your show earlier this week talking about the fact that they are now coining this as Bidenomics, that the administration is investing in the middle class, and they believe that investing in the middle class is the safest bet on making sure that we continue to grow our economy. You know, Mika, under President Biden's leadership, we've seen 13 million jobs created. We've seen record unemployment rates that have remained consistent. So I think he's going to be highlighting that. And I think, Mika, he's also going to be talking a lot about the fact that the four major economic bills that passed under President Biden's leadership, of course, including the CHIPS and Science Act, how those bills are actually going to translate to improving the lives of the American people. A lot of those bills are going to create and are creating manufacturing jobs. And in particular, Mika, of course, I'm focused on the CHIPS and Science Act and CHIPS implementation. Since President Biden has taken office, we've seen over $500 billion in private sector investment in the United States. $200 billion of that, Mika, is invested in chips and science companies and semiconductor companies. So I think he's really going to be talking about how his legislative accomplishments are translating to improving the lives of the American people.
Hey, Adrienne, certainly it's been a familiar refrain from the White House. They feel like they're not quite getting enough public credit for the work they've done on the economy. In fact, polls suggest that voters trust Republicans and even Donald Trump more on the economy than they do President Biden, at least to this point. So this is, one way to get credit. You put your name on it. But talk to us a little bit, though. There's some risk attached to that, too. We're still a year and a half from the election. There are, certainly encouraging signs of the economy right now, but there's always the possibility. There's some analysts who say a recession is still possible. Maybe it's next year sometime. So with Americans, inflation still higher than people would like, and with Americans still feeling uneasy about the economy, is there a chance here that the president may end up getting not the credit he looks, but rather the blame?
No, absolutely not. I mean, again, you have to go out and sell your policies, and I think that's where the White House is being really smart. Of course, we at the Commerce Department, Secretary Raimondo, surrogates across the administration are fanning out to really sell these policies because, look, Lemire, to your point, I think sometimes when, the American people are watching the news or, maybe tuning in, a few minutes each week to what's happening at the national level in terms of what's getting passed in Congress, they're not always understanding how that is translating to their lives. And so when the administration is sending out surrogates, not just the president, but the vice president, other high-level administration officials, to the heartland in America, to the coast, that right now they've announced over 20 states that they're doing this Investing America tour in. They're actually taking this message to the American people. They're getting those strong local headlines. They're making sure that, people across the country understand that President Biden and his leadership is responsible for these major policies that are going to impact their lives. And they're also explaining how these policies translate to the lives of American people. So it's an incredibly smart policy. This administration has so much to brag on in terms of how their policies are improving the economy. And again, Lemire, I'm looking at some of the unemployment rates in some of these key states where the semiconductor industry is investing. Some of the unemployment rates are as low as 2.93%. That's a huge accomplishment given the fact that we were going through a major pandemic just, less than a year and a half ago. So there's a lot to talk about, and now the administration is going to go out and sell it.
So, Adrienne, as you just pointed out, unemployment is at historic lows in many places. Bridges are being repaired, roads are being paved. There's a lot of construction going on. The economy outwardly, as you pass by it on a daily basis in your car, looking at stores coming back and stuff like that, the economy appears to be growing in health. And tomorrow, the president's going to be in Chicago talking about all of this. Simple question, as usual, from me. What took you so long to start boasting about this?
Well, I think the president has been boasting about this, but to your point, Mike, you've got to go out there and really sell this to the American people. You've got to go into these communities and sell this. The administration has already done an Investing America tour. This is the second one. I think this is something that you're going to see throughout the administration going forward, that we're really going to have surrogates out there talking about this, into these local communities. It's critically important. And, Mike, one of the great things that I just want to touch on, something on the CHIPS Act and the implementation. One of the things that we're seeing, not just with CHIPS, but with the Inflation Reduction Act, with some of these infrastructure jobs that are being created, these are jobs that don't require a four-year college degree. A lot of these jobs you can get with the technical training from high school. You can get with an apprenticeship. And that's a huge revolution compared to where we were, 5, 6 years ago, even a couple of years ago. We are looking at really reimagining what America's industrial policy looks like. And you're going to see, I think, the administration talking a lot more about this.